Hi, this is Steve Kendrick with Structures Building Company, and I am driving to Daniel Island to look at a lot for a potential client who's asked us to study the characteristics of the lot to help identify the best possible design and to determine what issues may be encountered in either the design or the construction of the lot. This is for a potential design-build partnership. Alright, so we are arriving at the lot. It's right here on the corner. It's a corner lot. One of the first things I see is that there's no trees. So that's a good thing from the standpoint of there are no limitations in terms of what can be built. There is a requirement that any trees that are 24 inches or greater are considered grand trees in Charleston. And cannot be removed without a variance. Any trees that are in excess of 8 inches can require mitigation, which means replacement if you have to tear them out. So this helps keep the cost down. The lot also looks relatively high for the low country. You can see a little positive pitch from the middle of the lot to the front and towards the back. And that's a good thing. Sometimes if we pull up on a lot and we see that it's low in the middle of the lot, that means we're going to need to build up the grade quite a bit to build on it, which costs money. And it also can mean that there's a lot of water just kind of sitting in the existing soils. So in terms of the design, it might be hard to tell from this video, but what I'm seeing is a house that would hold the corner of this lot. The lot's pretty wide and it's deep. It's about 120 feet wide and 120 feet deep. So you're not going to be able to build a house that would totally wrap that corner. It would just be too large. But I see a house that holds the corner and then maybe a garage in this back corner of the lot, access from the alley. And putting those two things together, we should be able to create some nice private private space, outdoor space, and have great views across the street to the marsh. I'm approaching the back of the lot, and you can see here that the lot is alley served. So that's important to notice because that determines where the driveway will be and where the garage will be. You notice on the house next door, the garage is in the back with a driveway off the alley, and that's the same design feature we'll want to incorporate into this lot. In fact, it'll be a requirement per the neighborhood design guidelines. I see this big dark spot here on the lot, which at first caused me a little concern, but I can tell it's actually just an old mulch pile that somebody had placed there. I'm now walking down the alley. I'm looking for services, namely water, sewer, and electric. Looks like we have the electrical service right back here. And that's important because now we know where SC&G will tie in their electric to, and it also determines the location of the electrical meter on the house. You typically place the meter as close to this box as possible, which keeps the cost down. Otherwise, you need to oftentimes install conduit and very expensive service cable from this handhold to the house. I'm walking up to the front of the lot, and here in the sidewalk you can see we have a sewer service, and that's where we'll be tying in the public sewer from the house. Now, this is a water service. This is what it looks like, and it's on a lot 2 doors down. Our lot should have its own water service. I'm sure it does, but I'm unable to find it on the property. So that's something I'm going to need to go back to the plat, and hopefully the services are located either on the individual plat or on the neighborhood, the plat for the entire development. Now in the low country, what we're concerned about is the flood elevation of the lot. That elevation determines how high your first floor needs to be located and where your mechanical equipment needs to be located, as well as the ductwork. All of that needs to be located above the flood elevation. And I don't have the plat information currently, but a plat will identify the flood elevation of the lot and the existing elevation of the lot, which helps us again determine how many steps up there may need to be to the first floor. You can see across the street these houses back up to the marsh. and their flood elevation is likely different than what we have on our lot because they are on the marsh. And so these are higher, but the house right next door is lower. And I think that's probably closer to what we're going to be looking at for the design of this house. Wonderful views across the street. These will all be preserved. This is marshland. It's beautiful. It's a great spot. They'll have great views out of the front of their house, and we'll want to make sure that the design maximizes those views. So it's hard to tell probably from this video, but in terms of design, I see holding the corner of this lot with the house, which I think is what the community patterns for the neighborhood are going to want as well. We want to maximize the views across the street, and we'll locate the garage in what will likely be the back corner of the lot next to the garage next door. And that should enable us to create a private outdoor space between the house and the garage, which I know the client is looking for as well. Another thing we look at when we're looking at creating these private outdoor spaces is the location of the windows in the house next door. You can see obviously we've got second-story windows that could potentially be looking into that courtyard that's otherwise supposed to be private, and the same with windows in the second floor of the garage. So as I drive away from the lot, I think we've got a great lot to build on. No trees to design around. The lot is relatively high. Great views across the street. I don't think we're in a very high flood elevation, but now what I'm going to do is go back to the office, research the plat, identify the flood elevation, existing topography of the lot, any build-to lines, setbacks, easements, so that we can make a recommendation to our client and begin the design process.